in our leadership program. This is Leaders Institute, and this is our online first lesson, a foundational lesson of BOL Cohort 1. By the help of UCAM Foundation, you're able to get this course free of cost, but donations are welcome from anyone of goodwill. We would also like you to know that at the end of this course, 75% attendance is a requirement for graduation, and also 75% at least of the score of your quiz test and community service, which you will do, record, and send to us for evaluation. This is a very important, one of the most important courses you can ever take in your life. Leadership is foundational to success in personal life, organizational life, national life, and even the global society needs leadership. The greatest need of our world today is leadership. We want to begin by defining some terms. Every great understanding begins from definition of terms. And you cannot have a great building without a good and deep foundation. So I'm not going to assume that you know how to define leadership. I'm going to get us to have a critical reflection on leadership, what it is, and how it works. And so that you will yourself become a great leader by laying a very good foundation for yourself. So the topic for today is foundation of leadership, the beginning of leadership. I will not just define leadership. I want us to have a critical reflection on the societal stratification of a great philosopher called Plato. Plato is one of the three great Greek philosophers that define ancient civilization that even affect us right now. There are a lot of things we are doing that comes from the brain of those dead men long ago before Christ. Some of them 300 years before Christ. Plato was a student of Socrates, and Aristotle was the student of Plato, and Alexander the Great was a student of Aristotle. That's the line of those great minds that really shaped ancient civilization. And I want to have a critical reflection on his classification of society. He divided the society into three. He called the first group the appetite group, the producers, the farmers and the blacksmiths and other people who keep the society running day to day. And the second group, he called them the spirited group, which are the guardian, those who jeopardize their life in the society to protect the people, like the soldiers, the police, and the military people on the sea and everywhere, protecting the people. He called them the spirited group. Then he called another elite group, the last group, called the philosopher king. They say that those ones are of the nobility. They are the ones that rule. They are the ones that deserve the highest level of education, and they are the ones that are actually ordained by the gods to rule over the people. Now, this philosophy was widely accepted and had been the basis for almost all forms of leadership, especially governmental leadership in the ancient world. It even affected us. And when I also reflected to our African society, I discovered that it's not so much different. There is this class that rule over the people while the rest are subjected, pay tribute to them, and then honor them, respect them. And just all that you need is of that blood. If you're of that blood, and then you can be a leader. If you're not of that blood, sorry, the gods have not ordained you to lead. That has also been the monarchical system of the African governments that we know. And when the democracy was introduced here and then we began democracy, it seemed like, okay, chieftaincy replaced kingship, and then we have people with chiefdoms rather than kingdoms, and the power of the king is reduced to almost nothing. But even then, the political class became the class. This time, it's no more the connection by blood anymore, but connection to a party, to a group, to a faction. And it's still like that today. It is that still mindset of our monarchical system that has been transferred to our political system. We talk about the cabals and the people that rules. And then if you don't belong to that class, you hear people saying that, okay, if you want to be a governor, you have to know the kind of people you meet, because if not those ones, you may not there may be nothing for you, right? So we still have that. And it comes from that philosophy. I don't know whether we borrowed that from the Greeks or the Greek borrowed it from the Africans, but it's still pretty the same about how leadership is thought of. And then we want to see the problem with that is that, okay, there must be a fixed role, and by birth, by divine misgivings, you are qualified to lead. And if you are not lucky or somehow the gods didn't choose you, so it suggests that leadership is exclusive rather than inclusive. And we see that that is the reason for so much of oppression, of tyranny, and a lot of evil that we have seen in history when a group of people want to lord it over the others, as we see even in Nigeria today and a lot of places in Africa. And then we see that there is a serious issue with that. We debunk that by saying that leadership is not for a specific class, all right? But before we go into that, let us define leadership, the modern definition of leadership. The modern definition of leadership, I just want to quote Dr. Maxwell and Warren Bennis. Dr. Maxwell defined leadership as influence, nothing more, nothing less. It defines leadership as the ability to influence others. Warren Bennis defined leadership as a capacity to translate vision into reality. And so if you can do that, it doesn't matter your race, your color, your gender, then you can lead. And that means that that Plato philosophy of society, that there is a special group of people, is already dead. It's no more at work today. We have known far better than that, that there's nothing like that. There's nothing like the royal blood. There's nothing like noble blood. There's nothing like a special class of people who are destined to rule over others. In fact, as far as understanding the scriptures and understanding leadership is concerned, that is the tool for oppression rather than leadership. And so, what is our working definition? Our working definition is very simple. You must look for some words in this definition as we take it. That leadership is an intentional act of serving others, influencing them towards a shared vision, and taking responsibility to making positive change. And so service is there. We talk about influence, we talk about shared vision, we talk about responsibility, and we talk about positive change, which means impact. With this, you can discover that leadership is not something to look for from outside you, it's something that's within you already. And so, because of that, we can say that there are no special people to lead. Everyone is born a leader and can learn to become a leader. Is that okay? Everyone is born a leader and can learn to become a leader. And it's something, if it is something you can learn, then it doesn't have to belong to a special class. And that is the congratulation I have for everyone here, that you can be a leader. True leadership is not about, it's not about position and ruling people. It is about serving people. Now, we want to go ahead to show that, okay, we want to go ahead to show that in leadership, you are not going to think just traditionally. We want to debunk some myths. We call it leadership myths. What is myths? Myths are actually things that are not true, but are held dear as if they are true. Like when I was a child, I was told that if an adult gets up from a seat and you go to sit down on that seat, your buttock will stick to that seat if you don't wait until after a time. And we truly believe that. Now we know it's not true. A lot of myths like that we were told. And there are a lot of superstitious myths that people are holding on to, even about leadership. For example, some people say that women cannot lead. But we discover that that's not true. We have vibrant female leadership throughout history to our contemporary world. And then we want to point out some of these myths of leadership so that we can effectively debunk them and throw them into the ocean of forgetfulness so that we can only live by the truth about what leadership is. The first myth is that leaders are born are not made. And so we have already debunked that. That's not true. That's Plato. That's monarchical system of African government. It's not true. Its leaders are, of course, they are born. Like Dr. Maxwell will say, if they are not born, how will they come into the world? But everyone is born a leader, and that's very important. Everyone is born a leader, and leadership is a learned skill, and everyone can grow into leadership through intentional learning like you're doing right now. If you decide to learn to become a leader, you will definitely become a leader, right? And the next is that leadership is about position or title. That's what some people think. Oh, I don't have position, so I can't lead. I always tell this story at the beginning of my leadership teaching of one story I heard long ago that Dr. Maxwell himself said. You know, Dr. Maxwell, you've heard me talking about Dr. Maxwell. I have some top leadership mentors, and one of the number one leadership mentor that have shaped the way I think about leadership is Dr. John Maxwell. It's a one day after a seminar, a young boy of 17 walked to him and said, oh, great teaching you've done tonight, but you know what? I'm not yet a leader. So when I become a leader, I will read your books. And Dr. Maxwell said, no, you are putting the cart before the horse. If you had read my books, you would have become a leader. And so what makes you a leader is not position, it's not title, it is influence. Leadership is about influence, it's about service, it's about responsibility, it's about making a difference, it's about impact. All right. Now, some also think that leaders must always be extroverts. An extrovert is somebody that is easygoing, can laugh always, have a lot of friends, quickly connect. You know, personality types are divided basically into introverts and extroverts. Introverts are out, introverts are in. And so some people say, well, I'm not an extrovert, so I can't lead. Forget that. Perish that forever. There are great leaders that are quite self-effacing, that they wouldn't even want to speak to the public except when it's absolutely necessary. So your personality has led you to do with leadership. Yeah, extroverts, you may have tools for communication and the ability to love speaking before people because communication is a tool for leadership, but that doesn't mean introverts can't learn that. And it doesn't mean that you must be an extrovert. Leadership is about influence. Introverts too can be leaders. And because they are very reflective, introverts can be thoughtful, they can be deep in thinking, and they can be very, very creative. And those are qualities of leadership. All right. They can be thoughtful, they can be strategic, they can, lead. Everybody can lead. What if I tell you that I am one of the example of a highly introverted person, but I discovered that being introverted is not going to help my dream of being a preacher or being a teacher or being a leadership developer. So I got to learn how to speak in public and open my eyes and look at the people and say, here I am, I got an opinion to share with you. Will you listen? All right. So I'm doing it again and again. Most people can even hardly believe that I used to be highly introverted. Okay. So some people, that's another myth is when some people think that leadership is about being in control, right? And then commanding and about, holding power. No, leadership is about service, not control. It is more of empowering than taking power, right? Great leaders are so secure that they give power to others. They are focused on empowering others. So leadership is not being in control. So don't say that they don't want to hear me. They don't want to hear me, so I cannot be in charge. No, it begins to serve. Somebody says the position of servanthood is always vacant because most people won't apply. Yet that is the position of a leader. The position of a leader is service. Oh, so sorry. So many persons are disappointed. Now, maybe you sign up because you want to have a great position of leadership and control people. Oh, no. You need a change of mindset because that's not what defines leadership. Like you don't want to be controlled. No one wants to be controlled. People want to be led. And people want to be served. People want to be communicated to be treated with respect. People want you to know that they too have visions and dreams that they need to accomplish. And that's why one of the things that leadership will do for you, leadership training like this will do for you, is that it empowers you to go do what's in your heart with regards to your purpose and your vision. We're going to talk more about transformational leaders, how transforming leaders lead, and so that you can begin also to lead as a transforming leader anywhere you are. Now, the last myth we want to debunk is that only adults lead. And that's actually so ridiculous when we think that young adults and teenagers and children cannot express leadership. No, it's not only adults that can lead. You can even sense leadership in kids right from when they are children. And all you need to do is to develop it. Everyone can lead. I think one point here you must take home is that everybody can lead if he trains the lead, if she trains to become a leader. Now, the next point on my slide, as you can see, is leadership versus management. Now, the reason we're presenting these differences is because they are always misunderstood. Most people will be seeing management and think that's leadership. Some people will see leadership and think that that's management, or that's the work of a manager. So there's the difference. And we thank great modern leaders today who took their time to really tell the difference. If not, in those days, leadership and management are actually seen as one discipline. And so when they say we want to teach you how to lead, they're actually teaching you management. And leadership is different. Leadership is people business. And we want to tell the difference. Both are important. Both are very important to the functionality of any organization or your own life. I think that's why most of the time, even couple in the house, you see that on a general note, not all the time, but on a general note, the woman in the house is a better manager than the man, while the man is a better leader, and both complement each other. The man sees the far future. The woman sees the maintenance of the now. You need to live to accomplish your long-term dream, but you need long-term dream not to be stuck in a circle. And so that's the difference between a leader and a manager. Very, very obvious difference. One sees the future far away. One sees the now that needs to be maintained. And so the leader focuses on vision and direction, right? A vision is always pointing at something far away. You have the eye of the eagle. He sees into the future. He sees something that is not yet on ground that needed to be on ground. But a manager focuses on execution and stability. Okay. Now, a manager wants stability. A leader wants disruption of the status quo. He wants something different. And so most of the time it's like negative and positive pole that both must work together, even though they look like opposites. Next, you can say that in leadership, it's about, it's about people. They motivate the people, right? It inspires and motivates people to take action. While a follower, a manager, it's about coordinating and organizing tasks. Now, one thing you must not forget is this. This is not about, don't cram anything here. Just try to understand what's happening. This one is focused on people development, inspiring people for action. This one is focused on task. Now, the people need to do task, and the task needs people, all right? So differentiating manager from leader is not about what necessarily what the people that they lead are doing. It's about the focus. So you can see that a leader will organize tasks to develop people, while a manager will develop people to perform tasks. Now, when you see that, it's like it's the same thing, but the drive is what we're talking about. And the results are also different. When a leader leads, people are developed. When a manager manages, tasks are accomplished. Are you understanding that? So this is about people. This is about task. Now, this one I'm talking of a leader, he seeks change and innovation. But a manager speaks of efficiency and order. This one talks about change. This one thinks about order. It's like they can't go together, but they do. So while a leader is always picked, the word change is so pleasant to a leader's heart. When he hears the word change, something resonates in his spirit. He wants change. He wants something different. All right. He wants innovation. The difference between outright change and creation and innovation is that innovation is using old way to do something new. So a leader is always thinking about how to do it differently. All right. How to do a completely different thing. But a seasoned manager also does the same task, but if he's creative, he thinks about how to do the same task differently. So we can say that one seeks change and innovation, the other seeks what? Efficiency and order. Now, a leader deals with people and potential, while a manager deals with systems. It deals with system and processes. A manager deals with system and processes. It deals with organizing the system and processes to get a task done, while the leader deals with people and their potential. So a leader motivates people onto their highest aspiration, their highest peak. So know the difference. And based on influence is how a leader operates. Based on influence and trust, he builds relationship, he relates with people, he motivates the people. But management, because of their focus on tasks, based so much on authority and based so much on control and based so much on reward. So when we talk about the levels of management, you see that at the end, there is control there. But when we talk about the levels of leadership, at the end, you see people development. All right. We talked about level of management in chapter 2 of this module, lesson 2 of this module. You will see the levels of management. It ends, the level of leadership, it ends with people developing. But the level of management, which is not included here because we are not doing a management course here, we're doing a leadership course here. But the level of leadership ends in control. That's you're in charge, you control, you get the result and produce the result, the task that is needed. So the summary is that managers keep things moving, but leaders move things forward. Manager keep things moving, but leaders take things forward. And so you can see the difference. Now, both are important, but it's leadership that I believe is the need of the world today. In Nigeria, in Africa, and around the world, there is more need for leadership than ever before. All right. And so we go to the next, and the next is the next is the art and science of leadership. Let's differentiate the art and science of leadership. We talk about science as predictability, isn't it? Science is about predictability. So when we talk about science of leadership, we know that leadership involves skills, strategies, psychology, communication, things to study and master. And so, but art requires intuition, creativity, emotional intelligence, and timing. Now, let me underscore this. When we talk about science, we're saying that these are the things that if you follow, people will follow you. These are great things that you must know. It is general, it is universal. Human beings have a general pattern of behavior and thinking and responses to action. So if you learn communication, you can tell and predict the kind of reactions it will evoke. If you learn emotion, if you learn you master psychology, you master communication, you master strategies. These are sciences of leadership. It works anywhere and anytime. And that is general. I used to say that as a science student, you know that if you put hydrogen, 2 atoms, and oxygen, 1 atom, you're going to get water, isn't it? It has been like that for ages, and it will continue to be like that. If you learn to do it, get in the lab right now and do that, that's the answer, that's the reply. That is what you're going to get. And so it is fixed, it's static, that's the truth. It's based on laws and principles. We know the gravitational law. If you go up, you're going to come down. If you throw yourself from the building, you're going to fall down and suffer damages and even death, depending on the height. and on where you fall to. So these are universal laws. They are scientific laws. And psychology is also science because it is based on experimentation and is a tool for leadership. So we can study and master the psychology of thinking, the psychology of human behavior, clinical psychology, and all forms of psychology. That's science. But leadership is not only science because it doesn't always work like that. It's not everything that works based on the science of leadership. We also have intuition, creativity, emotional intelligence, and things that also separate people from people that doesn't work the same way everywhere and with everybody. So it is both science and arts. If I give you a pottery to produce, I give you some lumps of clay to make a pot, or I give you paper and ink to paint something, it's not going to be the same with everybody. You stamp your personality upon what you're doing. And there is something different about each and every one, even though there is something that is common with every one of us. The individual differences makes leadership an art. Are you getting that? In art, there are no fixed laws and rules to that. And that's why even in language, they talk about the science of language when they start uh, giving you their rules. But when it comes to expression and communication and what it evokes, it becomes the art. So it's the same. So you need to understand the difference. So leadership is both a science and an art. And I hope you can differentiate what that means. It's both learned, which is science, and it's both lived, which is art. For example, intuition cannot be learned. It can only be developed to be more effective because intuition is knowing without facts, right? It's knowing without facts. So how are you going to know something without facts? And intuition is real. It's real. You just know after all facts are considered, you still know this is what should be done, not this one. And most of the time, a person who has developed his leadership bias seriously can actually pick out that this is what should be done rather than what is on the paper. That's, in fact, that's intuition. And so we have the next slide is why is it important to learn leadership? Let us look into that. Why does leadership matter? Number one, it gives you direction. And this is very important. Without leadership, organization and people drift. Without leadership, there will be no vision and there will be no direction. Without leadership, there will be no progress. Society advances when strong ethical leaders emerge. So nothing progresses without leadership. Then leadership grants inspiration. Leaders awaken the potential in others. In the course of this leadership training, there is a point you will come to that something will wake up in you that will be like a revolution. It begins as a thought in your heart, then it becomes an energy, then it turns to passion, and then it turns to action. And you begin to learn everything about it, accomplish it. There is a turning point in the heart of anyone who devotes himself to learning and self-development. And that's what we call inspiration. You are inspired to become something more than you could be. And then leadership also help you to take responsibility. Now it begins from personal responsibility. I used to tell young people that if you succeed, it's your fault. If you fail, it's your fault. Of course, you may think that there are other factors that are responsible for the place you are, but ultimately, God has so much arranged this universe that He does not leave your destiny at the mercy of somebody's decision. He doesn't. At the end, you are responsible for yourself. You are responsible for the life you're living right now. Because, for example, some people apply themselves to learning to be better, learn new skills, grow in spite of the difficulty. Other people don't keep waiting. They keep waiting for something dramatic to happen to them. But the truth is that good luck always finds those who are hardworking. And that's why when you tell successful people that luck happened to them, they'll look at you either as a fool or they will smile and know that and laugh at your ignorance because they know that the more hardworking they are, the more they develop themselves, the more they work hard, the luckier they get. That's what one successful person told someone who told him that he was lucky. He'd say, well, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And so taking responsibility for yourself will help you also to detoxify your mind from bitterness and offenses about people. In other words, I'm saying that the study of leadership leads you to a great personal success and personal peace. If you apply the principles of leadership, you are responsible for what happened to you. You are accountable for the change around you. And then you are even responsible for your world. That's quite audacious. And then as you continue to learn leadership, you will know that there is something that you must do to make the world a better place. There is something that you must do to make somebody by your side, somebody somewhere in the world, to breathe more easily because you lived. And finally, on this is personal growth. To me, this is the most important reason why leadership should be studied. And studying and growing personally will challenge you to grow beyond your comfort and open doors and give you opportunities beyond what you ever could imagine. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And so we cannot the importance of leadership. We can't emphasize the importance of leadership because everything rises and falls on leadership. All right. We are going to go to the last part of these studies, and I believe you are getting something. You are building a strong foundation for leadership. And that is this question. If everyone is a leader, and then who is going to follow? If everyone is a leader, who is going to follow? And I want to start answering that question by saying that you are pitting leadership and followership as words and opposites, isn't it? But that's not really how it works. It's more about leaders and non-leaders rather than leaders and followers. Because every great leader is a great follower. Every great leader follows principles, follows laws, follows and live by their decision, and even follow people. There is no great leader who is not mentored by another great leader. Either through their books, their tapes, their face-to-face seminar, and even physical touch, physical relationship, going out for a dinner, going out for a lunch to talk about leadership. And so if everyone is a leader and you understand leadership not to be position, but service, you wouldn't ask who is going to follow. It is because you're thinking of one big person in the front while others are serving his interest. Or one big person in the front who is issuing out commands. That's what I'm talking about. If everybody now become that, then who is going to obey commands? The truth is this: leadership is situational, and everyone can lead in various areas. Now, the illustration Dr. Miles Monroe gave that stuck with me so much long time ago in my journey of learning leadership is the various parts of the car. It talked about some parts of the car that are very expensive, like the battery, and very powerful. And then it talked about some other parts that are very small, like the connecting rods or the plug. And it talks about how if one of that small one that you look upon, maybe that costs only $4 or even $2, a little amount of money compared to the one that costs, $8,000, $1,000, $2,000, if that small one is out of the car wouldn't work. And so who is the leader in this case now? In all the parts of the car, each one fits in for a function that the others can't do without. Understanding this helps you so much to see that leadership is not about being ahead. It's not about that. It's not about being ahead. It's about serving. Of course, a leader should be ahead in some areas because you've got to have something to offer. And being ahead, you can be ahead in two ways. You can be ahead by running faster, working harder, or you can be ahead by suppressing others from making sure they don't go beyond you. So one is destructive and the other is creative. So being ahead should be that you want to learn more so you can give more. You want to learn more, not to show what you know, but to teach what you know. All right? So you can be a leader in your field. Let me give an example in Leaders Plus. Who is the leader here? You think, okay, it's the provost, isn't it? I'm the one teaching you leadership right now. But do you know how much work goes into this to make it successful? I'm telling you that if it's about me, you may not have been viewing this right now. So leadership is not only being in the front to be seen, it's also working from behind the scene to make sure that things get done? Who will agree to play the second fiddle, without which the orchestra will not be complete? So when you understand that, you now look about, where do I fit in? Now, I'm not talking about somebody. I have one of my students who always say that, good, I like this. Anytime you talk about this, I like this. My own, I can't speak in public. That's not me. I have to be at the back, and then that's okay for me. I say, no, that's not what I'm saying. You can learn to also be in the front, but you don't always have to be in the front, because leadership is service. So the answer to that question is, if every one of us lead in our area of giftings and our area of influence, every one of us will follow, because every great leader is also a great follower, because followership means humility, and humility means seeking the good of others and putting others first. Humility means acknowledging the contribution of others and not taking all the credit because you're the one visible. I know very much that those who are not secure are not going to do that, because it's only secured people that are not afraid to have people around them that are even smarter than them. Yeah. And so everyone can be a leader, and everyone can be a follower. I'm telling you the truth, all of you, my students. I used to tell people that I learned so much from my students. My relationship with my students is so mutual that you wouldn't believe how much my students have taught me. And that's the truth. The reason I'm not so ashamed to say that even to them is that it helps their esteem to know that they are making contributions too. Even to people that don't feel like, even to me, that they don't think like they have anything to teach me, but they do have a lot, especially in this jet age. You better listen to younger ones. They have a lot to teach you. And so right now, who is leading? When Isaiah, Paul, or Pella, or any of you, Richard, all of you, or those of you listening to me now, have something to teach me, don't fail to do that. In that case, you become the leader. I follow you to learn it. So you can be a leader. And you can have followers, because leadership is you serving others. All right, with this, I close the curtain for this foundational part of our leadership. This is the first lesson. Until I come your way at the second lesson, stay intact and keep leading. Make sure that you maximize this moment to improve yourself, and know that the journey into greatness, the journey into success, the journey into making a difference, into serving your world, into beginning that new thing in your heart and making it happen, that journey has started. God bless you. Like I told you earlier, my name is Pastor Pangod Abu, and I bring to you BOL Cohort 1. Make sure that you take your notes, read through your notes, and pass the quiz. And 75% attendance is also required.